So again, if you're taking off flooring, you can go in, and if you click the corners of the room, right, click. To end the condition, you double click. That's always a, you'll click your room, and you get people clicking around trying to end the condition, and it never quite ends. So to end the condition, you click.
Is it possible to do like a diagonal and that like automatically do the rectangle or no?
Not to my knowledge.
What if you have a room with a radius in it or something like that?
So let's say you got a room with a radius, so we'll find a radius just to trace, like this door. You can, if you hold shift down, this is something you might want to write down. If you hold shift down, it releases the angle snap on Oasis, so you can just follow that radius using small line segments. If you don't use shift and you try to trace that radius, you're going to end up with, I'll trace this one. If I start here, Oasis locks to certain angles, so you'll end up with, like, you can get close, but not quite there, because it locks at, I think, 5 or so degree increments. And you can change that and turn it off, but it's really useful when you're trying to draw a straight line. So how you release that angle lock is with the shift key as you're tracing around. Make sense? Okay. So you guys laughing at? It can't be that funny.
No, you gotta say it. Trust me, it's real funny.
Guys, we gotta refocus. I'm trying to give you guys helpful hints here. So when you're taking off a wall, right, we go back in here, and we're going to try a linear condition this time. And you'll probably want to go to your you look through your plans to see what these walls are actually made of when you go to put them into your Excel, or if there's different types. A lot of times there's different wall types. So this is an interior wall. A couple things we want to know about interior walls. We want to know the length. We can use that length to determine the number of studs, or how much track, right? We may want to know a surface area, single-sided. That can be used for insulation, or whether it's thermal or sound attenuating batt insulation. We may want to know our surface area both sides. If there's the same finish on both sides, so if both sides are gyp, we can use surface area both sides. If one side's gypsum, one side's plywood, you can use the surface area single side. Right, see how this works? You may want to use segment count. If you have 500 square feet of wall and it's a single wall, it's cheaper than 500 square feet of wall in 5 different segments. You guys know from building those sheds or the mock-up in Mr. McKeegan's class, when you get to a corner, there's some additional complexities with framing. So I think that'll do for now. Again, just like with the doors, we want to make sure we set a height. You'll look through the plans to figure out the height when we do a door takeoff, but I'm just going to say 9 feet for now, just to demonstrate how it works. I'm going to click apply. I'm going to click OK. And then if I click and drag, you can see I can take off an entire wall segment. And we'll get into how to take off walls. Again, click, drag, right? When you take off walls, you want to go right through windows and doorways.
Will it overlap that perpendicular section right there?
Yeah.
Not me like double count for it.
Yeah, and that's fine if it double counts that a little bit, because where that wall tees in, it's going to be such a small amount, and the accurate. If every one of you guys did the same takeoff on the same plans like we're going to do in this class, none of you will have exactly the same quantity, just because of the accuracy of clicking and where you're going. And we'll get into how to take off walls again later on. I just want to get you guys started on Oasis, right? So then if there's a, like this wall here looks a little thicker, so maybe that's a plumbing wall. So again, you can do one of two things. If you already have some walls going, if you right click on that, you can duplicate, and then when I go into that, you can see how it has all my stuff set up already, what I wanted over here for units of measure. So I can just say whatever, interior plumbing wall. It changes the color automatically. Look okay. And you can draw that in.
Should we try to not overlap, or does it matter at all?
It doesn't. I would make sure that it's at least touching it. The overlapping is going to be so insignificant. This is not like drawing in AutoCAD where it's an absolute precision game. It is estimating. You want to make sure you're accurate. Don't do this and then draw your next line segment coming up and all right, that's close enough. Make it look like it's neat.
Yeah.
Put some effort into it. It's not a speed competition. We're not trying to get this done quick. We're trying to get it done accurately. And so on. So if you wanted to do, if there was a different type of door, you could do the same thing with that. You could duplicate interior doors, whatever, type 2. And all the quantities and everything that you've had for those other doors will stick. So if I look back up where I did exam room flooring, if I scroll over, we turned on quite a few things here. We turned on square footage, we turned on perimeter, and we turned on tile count. You'll notice tile count is 0. We can't have tile count as 0. So you have to check this. If you want to use a tile count type of condition, you have to make sure you turn on grid. And we can say these are 12-inch by 12-inch tiles. You could even get really fancy and put in your grout spacing, but if you don't, it just makes more tile. If that makes sense. So I wouldn't get too fancy with that. You go back in, you'll notice that when I go back over to where I took off a exam room floor, it now shows that it's more of a tile than a sheet could, so you can visually see that. So you'll be able to see floors that have a monolithic shade, could be carpet or something like that. Rooms that are VCT or tile or something with a grid pattern will show up like this. You can do the same thing for acoustical ceiling tiles. And now when I go up here and I move over, you can see that for that 206 square feet, there are the same number of tiles. So the tiles are 1 square foot.
So you have to draw the acoustical stuff over the...
Generally speaking, there's a different plan for that. So this is a floor plan. There'd be a reflected ceiling plan for the ACT.
We couldn't duplicate it and just change the name.
You could.
It would be the same thing.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing as the other if you needed it. Now let's say there was a vapor barrier underneath that. You can layer conditions. So if I go back in here and I just make one called vapor barrier. And this is where you would want a contrasting color. So I'm just going to select like a light green. Click OK. And now if I trace this, So if there's a vapor barrier underneath the tile, so you can see that, and you can see the conditions. They have a transparency, so they show through each other, which is useful. You don't want to, again, you don't want to take everything off, on the same drawing. It is necessary to layer sometimes, but don't. If there's a reflected ceiling plan, take the ceilings off on the ceiling plan. Don't take them off on your floor plan. So you'll get way too crowded. If you go over to your summary tab, see there's no summary results, but we've done a lot of work since we started this bid. So you get this little red warning up in the corner. And click refresh. A lot of you guys are tapping away on your phones. You're going to have these same questions, and I'm not going to answer them for you. When you click refresh, the results show up. So I can see here exam room flooring. These are my units of measure. So I have 6 conditions. Some conditions have more units of measure. Some conditions have less units of measure. Yes?
What's the segment count for the walls again?
That's how many segments. So if I took off these 4 walls, segment count would be 4. Yes, per straight line. Yep. And that's just something that I like to turn on. If I have a radically high segment count, then I might add a little complexity factor to it. I might add a couple more studs. I might add another bucket of compound. Right? So go back to takeoff tab. Now, I know this is a interior plan. I just want to show you guys something for demonstration purposes. If I click new condition, linear condition, and we have a concrete foundation. Concrete foundation wall, footing, foundation. And the footing is 12 inches high and 36 inches wide. Maybe they have really bad soils. In this case, I can turn on my length. I might turn on volume, right? Actually, I may want volume as my first. That's how I'm going to buy concrete. You can change your units. So I'm going to change my units from cubic feet to cubic yards. I'm going to leave length on. Maybe segment count. I'll probably turn on surface area, top or bottom, because that's the edge that you're going to have to trowel finish. So you can look in a chart and see how long it's going to take a mason to trowel finish an area of concrete. And you could turn on for form work, you could turn on surface area both sides, and that'll give you your square footage of form work. Apply. Okay. And again, when you draw, you can see how it draws the width. So I have one line segment, 1.75 cubic yards of concrete. I can see my square footages for the top and both sides for form work, and so on. So on top of the foundation footing, if there was a foundation wall, again, you could duplicate it, because it's, you're going to want kind of the same type of information, and you would just change the information. So maybe this is 4 feet by 12 inches. And you can, just like with the flooring, you can layer these linear conditions as well. And it'll actually look kind of like a foundation plan when you draw on that. And you'll be able to see down here your yardage and everything like that. If you were to select the wrong scale on a drawing and you did a whole bunch of takeoff, you can just change the scale, and those numbers, you watch the numbers, they automatically recalculate. You don't have to redo your takeoff. You just have to make sure that you catch that error before you